Okay, so today we're going to be looking over the hay fields. We have not done second cutting yet, and it is pretty much August. So I'm a little bummed. We did our first cutting back before Memorial Day. I left it long on the field hoping that I'd possibly get 3 cuts this year. But with our excessively hot and very dry summer, I don't know that that's going to be the case. First, we are actually at field number 1. And I call it field number 1 because it's the closest to the house. So this is the field we planted last year. This is the one Eric planted 50 pounds to the acre on accident. And this is also, you can see, the one that I brush hogged. Now, as a couple of you guys pointed out, based on the pitch of the brush hog, it sent the stuff into windrows instead of scattering it all over like I planned. So that is a problem because it obviously is now killing my grass. Yeah, it would be great to probably go through and rake that up. I really kind of wanted this stuff to break down and deposit nutrients back down into the earth, but I really don't want it killing my grass either. The grass is looking decent. I mean, it's not perfect. There's still weeds, which is to be expected, but there's grass. And that's the main factor for this field because it tends to be wet. The color isn't the greatest. That's orchard grass, and that's orchard grass, but a different kind. See, it's a little bit different color. Yeah, so there also should be brome grass in here too, based on the fact that I planted brome grass last year before. You can see the weedier section down there. It's got some flowers growing. So I don't know, but that's an annual anyway, so I can mow that down again. Yeah, I mean, at least it's green. There is grassy stuff growing in here. I'm not exactly sure how much of this is grass though. Doesn't look like very much of it is grass. So I think this field is really going to benefit from being mowed super short coming up here in a couple weeks, and then overseeding with a drill. I think if we drill it in, we've never tried to drill anything in. It's hard to find a no-till drill in our area. They are very expensive to buy, if you can even find one used. That was the first thing we looked for. We ended up going with the drop seeder, basically because they were a little bit cheaper than the no-till drills, but we still had to go out of state to get one. That is all marshland. You can see the marsh grass is growing out there. Technically this is kind of that too, but as far as the history of this field, this one was originally planted with corn. Eric had this great idea that we're going to have the largest sweet corn stand ever, and we planted this whole thing full of sweet corn. And yeah, in case you're wondering, no, we did not go through and fertilize it. All we had at the time was just a planter, so we planted it. And I think we did put some little fertilizer granules in with it to help get it started, but that was pretty much it. And it did terrible. Probably worse than field corn. So anyway, this area looks pretty nice and lush. I'm not sure what this is growing. It's not orchard grass, I don't think. It's definitely a nice soft grass though. Look at that. I wonder if this is brome. That can't be brome. Right? That's not brome. I don't know. Anyway, this stuff looks great. I don't know what it is, but it's looking pretty dang good. Hopefully it'll keep growing. I think after the corn, the next year we didn't do anything with the field. It basically turned into a field of thistles and milkweed. So yeah, that's probably where all of the thistles on the property came from, was this field. I think about that time Eric actually got the brush hog, so we went through and brush hogged it. I want to say it was that fall we put down rye seed, like annual rye. I think it's fall. I could be wrong. Maybe it was the spring. I don't know if rye will overwinter or not. I don't remember. Anyway, we put that in, and I will never use annual rye again because it's worse than the thistles. Okay, first off, rye is poisonous for horses. All types of ryegrass are poisonous, especially the annual ryegrass, but even perennial ryegrass, the stuff they make in horse pasture mix, yeah, that's toxic too. Who knew? So the thing with rye is that it goes to seed very, very quickly, and those seeds are very eager to sprout. So if you have one head that you miss, get cut, it will go to seed and it will send babies out everywhere. After that, and then we plant a teff grass, which is an annual warm season grass, and that did really well in this field. And I have joked to Eric that we should just plant teff grass in this field and the other one because they just don't do very good, but teff would grow well in those. And then before we put orchard grass in, after the teff, we planted brome grass. Did not grow, still not growing really well. Let's go look at field number 2, which is the other half of this field. This is like 2.5 acres and that one's 2.5 acres. So 5 acres total here, 5 acres total back there. For a grand total of 20 acres, including our main 10-acre field. Oh, one thing I would like to mention is, yes, I have been fertilizing these fields. I have done soil samples on them last year, and I don't think the soil's changed a whole lot since then. So when I went through and I planted the grass seed, I did, based on our fertilizer company's suggestion, I think it was a mixture of potash and urea, I think is what we put down. Potash, urea, and I thought it was a 3-part mix. Potash, urea, and phosphorus, something like that. So I put that down with the grass seed. It's supposed to like help give it a boost before winter. That was in the fall. In the springtime, we didn't put any fertilizer down because there wasn't anything growing and it was too wet. So I couldn't do anything in the spring. After I did first cutting on the 10-acre field, a couple weeks later, I went through and did a foliar spray, which is called Black Label with zinc. So that's also been recommended plenty of times by our fertilizer company to put down. It's a foliar feed, so you spray it. I don't know if it really helped the grass at all, but I'm hoping it did. So I did everything with the foliar feed. I did this area, I did that area, I did everything back there, plus everything in the front yard. But the one thing you can see out here is we have like all these prickers growing in now. This is not wild rosebush. I don't even know what this is. It's just wild thorn crap that wants to kill you. And I even went through and hand seeded more grass into here, but I don't see any of it growing. That's not orchard grass, that's Timothy. I did not see Timothy out here, but there's Timothy growing. Well, I guess I know what kind of grass does well back here. It appears to be Timothy, because that's all that's growing. This might be Garrison Meadow, actually. And I'm guessing that based off the stem nodule right there. So this field is a disaster. And this field was planted at, shoot, I want to say 10 pounds to the acre maybe. I don't even know if it's worth keeping. It's really kind of sad. What would I plant here if I could plant anything I wanted? Well, let me tell you, I would either put teff here in this field because it's dry in the summertime, or I would put wild grasses here, such as Indian grass or big blue stem. They're both fine grasses for horses and they're wild, so, or native, they're native grasses. So that means they can tolerate drought, they can tolerate a little bit of water, but they can tolerate bad soils and they don't need fertilizer. All right, this is the main field. This is the 10-acre field, field number 3, I guess is what we're calling it. I mean, this isn't too bad through here, but man, you can just tell it's dry back here. Yeah, this stuff doesn't look too bad. This looks nice and tall, I guess. I'm not sure for second cutting how tall it's supposed to be when you cut it. This looks like it got a nice strip of fertilizer through here. This is, oh, it's definitely more. It's about a foot, maybe 14 inches, I'd say. But it's up to my knee with boots on. So I don't know, maybe that's Maybe that's more like 18 inches. I mean, that's probably definitely harvestable. This looks good. I mean, this area is doing great right here. And usually this whole side of the field right here is usually very, very thin. It's doing great. I've been overseeding this I don't know how many times, trying to get this to fill in, and it is filled in. Look at that. This looks great through here. Like I said, this area has always been very thin and very weedy. You can see there's just very few weeds growing in. Look at that. This is a little bit thinner through here, you can see. This didn't get planted very well. I'm guessing it might be a little more compacted in some of these areas, because there's not even very many weeds growing. This area is a little bit thin right here. And this area is a little bit thin. It's definitely shorter up here. It's not as tall. This is looking pretty good. The other area I want to check is the far back area. You can see how it dips down and then just becomes like a flat zone. That area back there has always been poor ground. Nothing's ever really grown there except for wild strawberries and thistles. So very slowly, wow, this stuff is thick through here. Nice and thick. And very slowly, we've managed to get stuff to grow back there, but it's taken a lot of work. A lot of fertilizer, a lot of grass seed. You can see some more bare patches through here. This actually looks like a mole. Here's a nice strip of fertilizer. Actually, that's the tractor tire tracks, which is funny. I'm guessing the fertilizer was hitting the tires and then rolling down onto here. Man, that hawk has been stalking me since I came out here. First, the hawk was over there with me. Now he's over here. So here we go. Here is the grass here. It is very, very short. It is very short. You can see this is probably about as long as I had left it. It's probably grown maybe an inch or two since I cut it. But again, there's grass growing here and not weeds. So even if it's not growing quickly yet, I'm sure if we could get some manure to put out here, that would greatly improve the soil. Lightly disc it in. This is all wild grass through here. And yeah, but I'm glad to see grass is growing. Better grass than weeds, right? I mean, there's a couple weeds, but... Alright, one more quick thing about the grass. Now, those of you who do hay and put fertilizer down, specifically grass hay, look at this and tell me your thoughts. Okay, so this is orchard grass. It should be probably 90% orchard grass. Two different varieties. They're both rated for cold Michigan climates. So you can see we've got a lot of brown at the top. Like right here. There's a lot of dye off inside. You can see like right through here. Looks like it's all dyed. I went through and put fertilizer down, a foliar fertilizer. Now I mixed it according to the directions, and I applied it in the evening also according to the directions. I think we had rain 2 days after, I believe. And then the next week after that, we had a massive month-long drought with 90-degree temperatures. My question is, what is the browning caused from? Is it caused from potentially the fertilizer that I sprayed down, or do you think it's caused from the drought? I don't know which. I know the ground is high in sulfur, so I don't know if that's causing it to turn brown. The fertilizer I use is called Black Label with zinc, and here's a link to it. Now, this is the stuff that was recommended by the fertilizer company. I did have soil samples done last year, and that's what they recommended that I put down. So that's what I figured I'd put down between season this year too. Probably would have been better to put that down first cutting and then the nitrogen down the second cutting, but I don't know, for some reason we went backwards. Anyway, you can see it's like all across the entire field. It's not just in one specific area. So I am a bit perplexed. I mean, this grass doesn't have it, but this is a different type of grass too. This is a wild grass right here. It looks like it's predominantly on the orchard grass as far as I can see. I can't do a soil sample right now because the ground is way too hard. I'll have to wait till it rains. I mean, you can see we still have giant cracks in the ground. I mean, look at that. I could fall into that crack right there and right there. And it's not just in this hayfield. We have them all over our front yard, which has never been tilled. So that's just how dry it's been. All right, so the last field is this one back here. Okay, so anyway, this is a 10-acre field. This is another 5-acre field right here. And you can tell because this one's got a lot more weeds growing in it. You can actually see the weed line right here. Now this clover is looking white for some reason. I don't know what that was from. Yeah. Okay, so here's a lot of weeds, and I think at the time I figured that I would either harvest this for hay or brush hog it. That the weeds weren't tall enough to deal with yet. Now they're definitely tall enough. You know, this isn't terrible. I would be tempted to mow this and sell it as cow hay. I don't know, $3 a bale. There's grass in there, there's clover in there, there's weeds in there. I'm not sure how much usable grass is in here yet. And this is just a big, I think this right here was where Eric was burning a bunch of brush. So I think there's a lot of ash in there, and I think that's why this is so tall and all of this stuff is growing. I would be very tempted to run a soil sample on this spot versus, say, 5 feet over there. This is the sort of stuff that interests me, like doing soil samples on this. We've got some more foxtail garrison grass right here. I mean, this is thick. This is crazy thick in here. Look at this. Yeah, it's mostly weeds and Timothy and Garrison Meadow, but it's growing well. So this has got some good fertilizer. I mean, alternatively, it's possible that I could have just dumped a bunch of spray right there, but I don't think that's very likely. Although the width is probably about like my boom sprayer. But that still wouldn't make any sense as to why one chunk would get it. I mean, because I don't turn it off when I do corners. I just turn a corner and keep going. So, anyway, the grass that was growing in here seems to have left or gotten smothered or something. Here's a pretty rough spot. There's definitely more grass growing in this field. It's not very thick, it's not very lush. And there's definitely weeds, but I don't think it's worth killing off this particular field. It is pretty lumpy. So, you know, I think if I'm gonna be back here cutting hay anyway, I might as well just cut this area too. Cut it super low, bale it up, and then go through the disc and then disc it, smooth it out, and then overseed real heavily, and that should do the trick in this area. But it does need to be leveled. I mean, you got a high point coming down right here into just a big low spot. Realistically, it should be graded out just like the other one should, or a drain tile put in or something. I mean, grasses grow here wildly and they don't have much of an issue, but if you want to harvest hay in the springtime, you can't have it wet. So, or you put tough grass out here, which is harvested in the summer when it's dry. I don't know. have to talk to Eric and see what the boss says.